Hi, viewers. Welcome back to the Renewalism show. If you were on the show yesterday, you would have been witness to the last of the live series where we had a guest. We've had 30 guests every day in the month of June, with each one of whom I was discussing one of the habits of renewal. Renewal, in case this is the first time you're on the show, is a book. It's a book that was released on the 4th of June, and it's a book that stands for a concept of renewalism. The renewalism movement could well be larger than modern movements like veganism because this concerns itself with human consciousness. Veganism concerned itself with animal exploitation, and so many people believed that that was the right way to make small lifestyle changes for sustaining the species. But here we're talking about the human species and self annihilation. We're talking about a story through renewal, which goes in the words of a certain Guru Pranachandra. And Guru Pranachandra was actually an energy form who channeled to me in December 2019. I was writing, characters were evolving, and the storyline was developing. More importantly, the sequence of habits was developing 30 habits that we captured in this book, Renewal. And they are compartmentalized into 10 habits of self renewal at the mind, body, spirit level, starting from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed again. What is it that you can do to renew your body on a day-to-day basis? So if you're doing that on a day-to-day basis, you have greater mindfulness, you have a greater awareness, you have a greater connection which is used at the symbiotic level, where we are talking about our relationships with others, with elders, with youngers, with spouses, with colleagues, with bosses, with clients, and all of that. And with the planet, with our immediate environment, with our awareness of our use of plastics, for example, or various things, like the sustainability impact of the way we use energy. So on this show, we've had many guests. I'll tell you a little more about that. But just to continue, the third set of habits was on systemic renewal, which is how we can remove the bottlenecks that we have created for ourselves. We have somehow trapped ourselves in this world order where we are um, we are creating problems not only for other species and for the planet in general, but for our own survival. um, Telecommuting, for example, that it has stopped, or rather, it has started now, commuting has reduced. We have seen the impact on the air. We've seen the impact on the water. We've seen dolphins coming back. We've seen animals feeling more secure in spite of human presence. Likewise, there are various other things that we have got ourselves trapped into social conditioning, into educational conditioning, into medical conditioning, into governance systems, into policy making. And we've discussed a lot of that over the last 30 days. So I welcome you to go through some of the videos in the playlist, whatever grabs your attention. We've got all of them on YouTube. And the last 30 days, we've had a phenomenal array of guests. So just to give you a synopsis, a little summary, let me just refer to my notes here. We've had guests from 8 countries: 19 from India, from the UK, the US, the UAE, Singapore, Mexico, Ukraine, and Italy. We've had 13 who have the standing of global speakers. 20 of them are influencers, well known influencers in India, and 10 of them are international influencers. Their word carries weight across countries. 22 of them were male and 8 were female, just for the statistic. But interestingly, 15 of them were entrepreneurs, 13 who were at chief executive officer levels, and 2 of them were senior executives. And all of that tells you that whatever discussions we've had, whatever conversations we had, were deep and meaningful. And the reason I had them was because as you adopt practices listed here, you're going to probably run into issues of practicality. You're going to wonder whether a habit would really work or not. Trust me, it's been discussed, and you can go deep into it and understand a perspective either from a practitioner or from an expert who's helped a lot of other people practice this. There are practices related to energy, personal energy, related to qigong, related to how you optimize your energetic self so you're not tired and you reduce stress, you're chilled out, cool, relaxed in spite of circumstances. There are aspects of gratitude that help in it. There are aspects of blessings that help in it. There are aspects of meditative awareness that help with that. And then, like I was telling you, things about how much is the impact of telecommuting or of using solar. Is solar useful at all for that matter? Of how you use concentrates across domestic consumption as well as industrial consumption. Hoteliers, how are they renewing? With the coronavirus, it has taught us, it's actually fast forward this journey that we would have otherwise had to take through the process of renewal, because there are certain things that were documented way back in December, which became necessary forced upon habits to us. And that's in fact the reason why this book came out in June, because normally I would have waited for a publisher and all that sort of stuff, but I decided that we're going to bring it out and we're going to put it up on Amazon on an ASAP basis. And I am happy to tell you that we have a publisher who helped me, and it's on Amazon. Notion Press, their team worked through the COVID crisis. And off and on, the paperbacks have been off because there was a lockdown in India, which was reinstated in the southern regions. And as of 1st July, this was shot just now, at 299 rupees, you can get a prime delivery of renewal. So get a paperback, buy Amazon Prime, or you could, if you choose, go to renewalism.com. I would much like that if you are game for an e-copy, because then I would be in contact with you. I'd have my systems mail out the copy to you, and I'd love to have your feedback direct one-to-one, right? You would have my mailing address. Renewalism.com is also the place to start for understanding the whole vision behind renewalism. I believe that it is a movement, the adopters of which would far surpass in numbers the number of vegans or technologists, or speaking of isms, more than people who follow Buddhism or even Hinduism for that matter, or Catholics. And that's important to understand, because such movements don't unfold in months. They may take years, but you can be a part of it if you just get to understand how the world is just 30 habits away from renewal. Just 30 habits away from renewal. So I challenge you to pick up a copy and go through it and see whether there's anything that is not simple enough to bring into your habit patterns today, here, and now. They're all habit replacements. And Guru Pranachandra, he's the one I was telling you about, who's let me hide this off, who's put together the entire book, you could say. He's been interacting with a family, which is introduced in the first chapter of the book. And thanks to that family, which starts attending that discourse that the major part of the book is about, you and the family are able to relate with those teachings. And actually, I would not even call them teaching, I call them suggestions, because he tells you how to replace an existing habit with a new one, how to there are only two things that you need to create a fresh habit. And it's really broken down in a way that a lot of reviewers, if you go to Amazon and read some of the reviews, a lot of reviewers believe that these are simple to implement and important. In fact, I think there's a unanimous agreement on the fact that this is the time to implement this stuff before we inadvertently regress into our old habit patterns. Right now, we're doing some things which are good for us and for the planet. We just introspect a little more, formalize that stuff a little more, and we're going to be good, right? So now today I want to talk to you a little about this emblem that we have, which I believe renewalists would be proud to wear or to display. I say that because there is some thinking that went behind in the making of this, which I believe you, as a potential renewalist, must at least get aware of. You may not embrace it immediately, but as the book grows on you and you come to the third page, you have the cover graphic which you described in 10 bullets, and I have been given feedback by readers that there is a lot more than 10 bullets that can actually justify this graphic. So to start with a few, and now that you're watching me with the logo next to me, you would probably also see a few hidden meanings. You would probably make out the on switch, right? All appliances, electronics these days have that on. And that's the power on. Because renewal starts with powering yourself on to know that it is up to us, the individuals, to make that change. In fact, the byline of the book, right down here, is your unexpected role in saving the planet. You have a role to play. And your role is bigger than what governments and corporations can do because of various reasons, many of them discussed in the episodes on policy making and systemic renewal processes. Because in a nutshell, and I'll be covering many of these nutshells in coming episodes, but in a nutshell, the person who's making the policy is also a human being. And all it takes is an understanding of the inner power that we have, which we can use to connect with other people's power and get this whole movement on a roll. So that's a lot of things that we can do just by switching ourselves on. Now, from that on grows a character that you may or may not be familiar with. It is the Egyptian hieroglyphic character of the Ankh. The Ankh was the symbol of life. And life is what is going to be revitalized once these renewal practices come into play. From the ark grows out, well, they were intended to be leaves, to signify regeneration, regrowth, and the entire natural connection that we need to build up, the entire respect for nature and for other species, and for what was given to us, which we cannot possibly recreate because we don't have the code and we don't have that programming in us either. Subjects like this are discussed. In case you're tech savvy, you would probably enjoy the perspective on technology in this book and on the rationale why self-annihilation could be technologically driven. For example, the coronavirus, we really don't know whether it was man-made or not. We probably never will, but it could be. And in fact, right in the preface of the book, I've written that the coronavirus is a dress rehearsal for what we can expect. It's a dress rehearsal to know how the governments respond, how the healthcare systems respond, how society and community respond. And I think we have still a long way to go, but probably the next attack doesn't have a very long way to go. So we've got to gear up ourselves at an individual level faster. Self-reliance in terms of health was discussed with the chief of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Awesome talk. He completely agreed. He is also the first reviewer of this book. And on renewalism.com, you have what he had to say about it right there on the homepage. What else? This leaves, this regeneration, this regrowth is embedded in the seed of love. That symbol of love is right there at the heart of renewal. You've got to change your vibrations to experience that love. And too many people across this planet are operating from way lower vibrations than what is required to love oneself and others. And this book is, in fact, an appeal to start loving you. Tomorrow in the episode, I'm going to talk more about why this book is needed. But today, let me come back to just the emblem, which is got more meanings than what I've just shared. All right. It is, if you look at a combined element, a key or even a sword, a key to revitalize the process, because by turning that key within, we start that process. A sword, because that sword has to cut across current conditioning and current belief systems, which we are embedded with right from the age of 2 or 3 as we start our social and school interactions. We lose our connection with pure energy, pure nature, soon as that conditioning gets onto us. And we've got to have a system to have the next generation uh, not only aware of this, but capable of keeping themselves in that state of connection with energy, connection with pure nature. So we need that sword to cut across a lot of this. As a combined unit, some people actually, I ran a survey to get opinions on what they thought before we printed it on the cover, and there was some response which made it appear to be a grenade that is just waiting to blast us if we don't take the right steps. Few groups who are followers of goddess Durga saw those leaves as eyes, which symbolize strength, power, and vitality over fighting the forces of evil. Some also looked upon it as a human, which is what is this consciousness about. You see, the whole movement is to renew human consciousness, and the human is right there. If our consciousness changes, we change the consciousness of the planet. We change the consciousness of the species, of many other species, because they are observing how their species is suffering because of humanity. I'm not talking just about the domesticated animals here. They do, of course, they suffer a lot, or even if they're pet dogs, pet cats, and stuff like that, they see a lot and they get emotionally upset just because they can't express it the way our kids can. They don't know what, we don't know what they're going through when we have fights in the house, when we have divorces, when we have all sorts of negative vibrations entering a space which is shared by them. So human consciousness, when that is addressed by you in your house with your people, that's when this renewal starts for everything and everybody across the planet. And finally, it's not a finally actually, but another dimension is that this whole thing is a bottle of scent, the fragrance of which is set to purify us all. So do drop in your comments if you come across anything more than what I have said so far, because I'm sure you will. And I'd love to read your comments. I'd love to interact with you. I'd love to respond to you and see how we can join hands as renewalists and get more people in our communities to, as Guru Pranad Chandra says, even form renewalism clubs and spread good ideas which deserve to be spread because the time is here and now, right? So, with that, viewers, I have a few comments over here. This is it's very nice. Minu, you're a regular follower of ours and renewalist too, I would believe. Uh, Let me put this up because it just feels so good. Thank you for the wonderful. There were actually 30 episodes, and the conversations were enriching and enlightening. She says, "I believe so too." I would like to have your comments maybe on this video after you've gone through a few of them, because there is so much that people have poured out. They poured out in from their practical experience in every dimension of every habit. So it's awesome. We also have uh, a message of alarm from Kena, because she believes that the renewal of human consciousness must start immediately. Otherwise, there is not a future. Well, I echo that thought, and I'm sure a lot of people do. And I'm sure if this resonates with you, spread this word around, share this video on various social media, and subscribe, because every day the Renewalism show is going to go on, and you're going to help us reach out to more people. When you subscribe, make sure you also click on notifications so you get the reminders. That bell rings every time at 9 p.m. when we have a show. So that said, allow me to take leave of you for today, and I will be back at 9, and we're going to talk about what I did start on a little today, but I'd really like to go deeper into why this book is needed at this time. Not just why I thought it was important, but what several other people who've come onto the show would like to say about it. And reviewers, if you've read the book or are in the process of reading it, please drop in a review on Amazon. It inspires so many other people, you have no idea. So thanks for all that. And thanks for coming on and staying on the show. Subscribe, comment, share, and see you around tomorrow. Thank you.